Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. A species at the precipice of its emotional maturity, or the species is at the precipice of its emotional maturity. What could that mean? Ladies and gentlemen, it is June 14, 10:35 p.m. (2025). Right now, I as a human divide reality in front of my eyes, what is happening, behind my eyes, what is happening. As simple as that. And I wonder about what is happening and what sort of geometry or geometrical shifts my consciousness can acknowledge in front of my eyes. And in some sense, how the awareness behind my mind can notice various thought forms. The Mysterian awareness behind my mind. Ladies and gentlemen, there's war happening right now, and we're at a very unique time. And for those who will hear this lecture in the future, you might not understand. I don't know if I'm able to explain to you accurately what the vibe is, but it's like nations are fighting, two nations, Iran and Israel. And I was born in Iran and I've been raised in Canada. In the outer realms, there's war. This war can lead to something big and unnecessary. And if anybody, all the leaders of nations wondered why they have militaries, by the end of this lecture, you will understand they are to be tasked with the protection of the species. We've reached that point on Earth where I believe, I am Muslim, I believe there's a system admin beyond this world room. And I believe this system admin, and I also believe we're all inside a simulated testing zone within a divine surveillance state. But this lecture is just, guys, honestly, about me pointing out that there's 8 billion human beings on the planet, and a couple of these human beings that are leading us are in some sense leading to some degree war. Pretty much we're at a conflict that may turn into global war, which shouldn't, in the outer realms. And in the inner realms, this is where I guess this world has created people like me to explain it. All right. 8 billion human beings on Earth. What are they doing? They are carrying something. To be human is to carry on. That's our fundamental value, to go forth. Honestly, I believe this is let me just tell you the context and then I'll feel better about this lecture. Pretty much the idea was that our species is at the precipice of its emotional maturity, and what that means and what emotional maturity means and what human beings are being confronted today is a completely different world situation than has ever been seen. And so in the same way that for a religious person you consider that reality is a test, and so the after hardship comes ease. And what that means is that there requires to be patience to find the good deed out of all the possible deeds in your mind. Reality, going from the idea of reality as a simulated testing zone, biological simulation, an objective position of a simulation, has led to a subjective position of a simulation. We're no longer just a bunch of animals in the wilderness. We are 8 billion human beings that in some sense coordinate themselves and positions themselves as not only your biological body in some sense is given a name, your mind and your memories have given a significance to the idea of you, in the sense that you weren't just given a body, you weren't just tasked with the maintenance of a biological body, you were also tasked with the meaning that animates and moves and makes this body survive. And really, I'm just doing something playful at a chaotic time. And I'm saying, hey, look at a human being. Let's see what emotional maturity means on that level. And let's see what emotional maturity means on a level of the species. You see, emotional maturity, I'm trying to give you a sense of how that reality comes across to me. I have lived 12,000 days on this planet. That means I've woken up 12,000 days, been like, yo, a new day, a new self, yay. And then slept and woken up. And after a while, you kind of, how do I say it? You begin noticing things. And so, if I am to tell you what emotional maturity is, as if someone who, if they were like, if we give you a time machine, can you go back in time and fix the mistakes you made? I'll be like, yeah, I understand. I see everything now. So, emotional maturity is, first of all, you got to understand when it comes to knowing things, there's a concept, there's a context. When it comes to human knowledge, it means the individual context the human being is. Your intelligence is formulating your brain is creating subjective models on reality, and it's placing these subjective models as a concept or a context, and usually concepts are found in a context. That means if you open your eyes in a world that has unique geometry and you didn't create it, that means you see the concepts, the uniqueness of the concepts, but you don't know what the context is. It's like, yo, man, was I born into some state of being's film? But life is more than just being an actor. Reality is more than how we simulate it. Emotional maturity, I'll give you three cases. Imagine a young toddler, right? And you give the toddler a toy, it smiles. It's happy, it's laughing. You take the toy away or the candy away or the whatever, right? And it starts crying. Even if the parent goes away, the child starts crying, right? Do you see what I'm saying? I'm saying the emotional maturity of a toddler is it cannot be responsible for its emotions. It's just the outburst of them. Okay? Now, after some point, let's say the person's in their, how do I say it? Like, I'm remembering myself as, how would I say it? Now imagine someone usually, let's say from the age, let's give it from the age 18, or let's give it from the age, actually not 18, 20. From the age 20, not to 30, I would say in the space between the age 20 to 30 is when emotional maturity is still there, in the sense that people are like, my emotions are more important than others' emotions. A toddler, you're like, okay, the toddler's emotions are in some sense like, it's an unconscious, completely unconscious thing. But imagine a younger child like that, the emotions, it's conscious. So when it makes a mistake, the parents come and teach it what emotion to have. You know? In the same way parents teach kids how to move, in the same way they teach communication, it's like, in some sense, how do I say it? Human beings are training the next generation of human beings, and how they're training them is by showing them how something can happen. Do you know? I'm trying to tell you, if you right now are a person who think that that means, let's say you're in a situation, this is really when maturity hits you, I think this is pretty much, you know you just realize the significance of position, and your brain becomes capable of perceiving through the eyes of people. There used to be a time I would look at how people would talk, but honestly, when I look at their eyes, I know where they are. I know if that person's on some automated inner realm functioning, or in some sense it's some outer realm concentrated act. You can be somewhere, but your attention can be somewhere else. That's a testament to the capability of our intelligence as beings. I'm trying to say that usually the human being, it starts its life, it goes into this program or game of self-obsession, right? That means we have to like maintain our survival, but we don't have moderation in it. Do you know? So people obsess over survival, and then the survival amplifies subjectively to them. And I'm just trying to say that when I look at life, I see there's selves, I see there's a species, I see there's a world, and I don't see, but because I see the simulated nature of reality, I consider there's a system admin. Okay, so for me, to be honest, if right now somebody was like, hey man, if you were to leave Earth, let's say somebody was like, I had an opportunity to go live on another planet, and technology had evolved to the degree that I didn't need astronaut training. Okay, honestly, folks, I'm trying to just explain to you that we kind of start off being responsible, like the first game is being responsible for ourselves. You're trying to solve the problems of yourself, and how you solve the problems of yourself, for example, is ethics. But you as a human being solve your own problems. But I want you to imagine, what would you do after you've solved your own problems? You begin to see there are problems greater than your world. And you know what's funny? When somebody says your world, like those two words, it means that your truth has an edge. There's an edge to your truth. That means there are greater truths in this world, and one can even go as far as to even say that who says truth has to even be human. There's many things. You got to understand, we're kind of like humanizing reality because we're human beings. Now, the emotional maturity is pretty much realizing your emotions are not that much of a big deal, and the emotions of your species is. Imagine they just had this technology. Let me tell you something funny. So many people are against technology that connects people's minds together, but let me tell you this. Imagine for one day there was this advanced, let's say, hypothetical scenario, this time traveler from the future came and was like, hey, human beings, for one day we're going to give you a glimpse of what it's like if all of you could feel each other's emotions, if all of you could know each other's thoughts, and if all of you could, in some sense, look through each other's eyes, what would you be like? And imagine if that happens. Do you know what happens when that happens? If that happens, I think that whatever this, at that point, humanity would be a superhuman organism, and that superhuman organism will have to classify, probably using AI, classify, all the processes and all the personalities, and eventually station itself not as an individual anymore. So it's like a huge philosophical discussion, even like how individual collective minds become one collective mind. And once they become one collective mind, what would the value of their individual minds be? You got to realize every person, what it means to live life, it means you open your eyes, you see an event, and you give it value. You extract value. It means something to you. And now you got to really wonder what the meaning of the present is. For me, it dawned on me one day that everybody is living for their future self. Who are we kidding? A personality is like a moving station of form. It's a position, driven position. It's like we're driving our bodies. It's like there's this life force that's being us, that in some sense has an awareness to its whole moment, that has an awareness to its body, that has an awareness that its mind can take any form in front of its eyes, and in some sense wonder about all the variations of it. When your emotions, thoughts don't matter and life simply becomes what is the most important thing to pay attention to, or another way that could be said, what is the greatest value? It doesn't matter if you think you're a body right now, if you think you're a mind, or if you think you're a soul. If you pay attention, in all stations, it's all in some sense states of being. For me, in the same way there's like, solid, liquid, gas, there's various states of being. Emotional maturity is realizing, seeing beyond your own emotions. A child just cares for its own emotions, it cares for its own values. But a human being, the human beings that truly see the world, they see it in some sense having a neutral beauty. The silence is as beautiful as all the words that have become poetry. I wonder often about what will happen to our species. I wake up every day and I ask myself, is the past giving meaning? Is the present being meaning? Or what about the future? You don't understand. The future was like the biggest surprise of my life. All right. Let's get into this talk. Let's see what we can do. Emotional maturity of the species, from emotional immaturity to maturity. Things that were a big deal are no longer, because the world has expanded. The horizons of your mind have opened. I ask myself often, and people think like, philosophy has no value, but philosophy directed to the future has incredible value. Because in some sense, the consideration that what is the greatest thing 8 billion human beings can do on Earth, and what happens when they begin to realize that the human species is far greater than the illusion it is masquerading as. O humans of Earth, it is understandable that there is required a space for your personal life. All right. Astonished by my own conscious awareness to reality at all, I find myself as an unknown viewer of a known world, learning the methods and the approaches of the known world, only to realize I have ignored my true self. What if my true self is truly unknown? And what if the unknown has a value beyond human understanding? And what will man do as a multi-dimensional dimension of being? There is a way, I would say something very interesting, that right now, every person is looking, like, look at something, whatever around you, and I will tell you what you are looking through multiple viewpoints at the same time. In the same time, you have access to your biological sight. You have an awareness of visualization, but the visualization when your eyes are opened is limited to the space of the actual space. That means I've noticed it that if in front of me there's like a tree, and if let's say my forehead, not my, let's say I'm a meter away from the tree and I'm staring straight at the tree, if I was to imagine something, it wouldn't come into the space of the tree. It would act, the mind treats physical perception as part of itself. I don't know how to say it. Good or bad, the world still turns. Maybe I should contextualize the explanation of this part as if, for for me personally, I consider there's God, and what happens in this simulation, how I respond to it, is in some sense the value of the test of the simulation. So our deeds are important, our decisions are very important in regards to the search for our true character. So God is testing humans individually, and now I feel God is testing nations. God is testing civilization itself. I know that on this planet there's a system, divine system administrative and divine system administrative force and divine management. And I know that if the world does, if we go extinct, I know that it, in some sense, it was intended for that. Do you know? But just as a simulated being, while I'm here, I wonder what is the value of being here? What is the value of intelligence at all? What is the value of 8 billion human beings noticing that when they look in the mirror, they notice they're all members of the same species, you know? And I'm saying in some sense there's a delusion. The emotional immaturity of the species is pretty much that human beings are identifying with chunks of land and their own abstract names and their own abstract, like in some sense, their own values and personal memory. I'm trying to say, like, everybody's in their own world, right? And they're now, when it comes to external reality, they're identifying with the land. They're not understanding. It's like, yo, somebody give the United Nations a brief. It's a united species, actually. It's like right now we're getting to witness how the leaders of nations, just nations, treat each other. It's fascinating. So, I've established a bunch of things. I'm trying to say that the future of the species is very important. You, as a human being on Earth, has to have to realize that we are not just all of us are carrying the DNA. It's like we're tasked with carrying the DNA forward, but we're also tasked with comprehending reality and, in some sense, allowing the species to emerge in new, advanced archetypes. What that means is that there's nothing more important on Earth than a united species. There needs to be a United Species Council, there needs to be Species Unity Day. And we need to begin realizing that nations are like different parts of a brain, and once the species unites, it's going to have incredible processing power. There's so many ways that you can handle the situation. Right now, for example, Iran and Israel are in war, right? In some sort of conflict, militaristic conflict, like. And right now, their biggest allies should just, like, Iran's biggest ally and Israel's biggest ally, they just need to, like older brothers, just go and sign a contract that if these two countries continue their militaristic efforts, based on its intensity for years, their trade or whatever will be reduced, or they won't get access. Because ultimately the state of the world for now is not an awareness of a holistic nature. It's not like human beings are alert to systems thinking, but what they're doing now, it's the game of egos. That means it's like the chess pieces are visible. It's like humans trying to feel something before they die. Okay, or trying to do something before they die. But what are they doing, and what is the value of it? And this is where it's the task of everybody in media, like every podcaster or whatever, you know, we need to find the wisdom of the world, and we need to realize that what we have here is so valuable and so much of it is still unknown, that for the species to self-defeat itself is unnecessary. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're at a very interesting time. It's like everything's being tested, do you know? And there is an intelligence here, folks. There's an intelligence not just of a physical nature. Do you know there's a sort of, I don't know how to say it, but it's like space is alive in accordance to some command. So anyways, where I'm going with this, we need to quickly get over our own problems, our own emotions, and then quickly go to this level of thinking, on species level thinking, civilizational level thinking, and beginning to consider that ignorance still sees something. That there is a, how do I say it? Like every moment, everything I've ever seen, I look at it and I'm like, okay, it's had a past, it's present right now, and based on its intelligence, it can have a future, right? The future is something that it's not just like you got to eat water, not eat water. It's not like you got to drink water, eat food, find shelter, regulate temperature, procreate. Do you know what I mean? It's not just that. It's like we have to wonder about the depth of the context of what we're dealing with here as conscious beings. Do you understand? That means organization can precede violence. Clarity was there before ignorance arrived. So humanity has to wonder, right? We gotta. So I'm for me. I'm like, yo, these nations are fighting, and they're like, what's your excuse for fighting? They're like the past, bro, and our egos. Our egos right now, our sense of self as a nation, are identifying with the past and with chunks of land. Do you know what I mean? And in some sense, now we're like fighting. And it's as if they are completely ignorant and oblivious of the future. How are they world leaders? I'll never know. World leaders that have not envisioned more than let's say 100 years in the future, you're failures. How the hell, like, how is there needs to be like a global futurist association, like, shunning ignorance, past ignorance. So anyways, what I'm saying is the obvious common sense thing is that the species need to, how do I say it, like, imagine there was a different kind of war. Imagine there was a war of species, helping each other, who helps each other the most rather than who kills the most. Like, what the F, you know what I'm saying? The letter F in the alphabet knows what I'm saying. So what I'm trying to say is, behind our minds, we are way more advanced than in front of it. And a human being goes through stages in life where they are the most important thing. They are the center of their own universe. But they don't realize there's like one state. How do I say it? There is no your world, my world. I mean, technically there is, but not absolutely. Do you know what I mean? That means like higher level beings, like, okay, hypothetically, futuristically, let's say extraterrestrials. Like a bunch of human beings went to an extraterrestrial airport. Like the guy at the airport would be like, all right, documents, and you'd send it, like, you'd give your citizenship, right? And they'd be like, we don't care about like nationalistic of your own planets, like, do you know? What I'm trying to say is that, like, imagine the person's like, where are you from? And you're like, I'm from, Toronto, Canada, on Earth. And the extraterrestrials like, all right, man, I don't know what you just said. Only Earth exists to me on this level. You know, that means it's minor. National warfare, nations fighting each other, it's a minor problem for a cosmic mind. And we need to get the species towards the eras that are ahead of it. Right now, we're at the cyberspace era, then it's the mecha era, MECHA. Pretty much we're at the shift. The precipice is the shift from nationalism to speciesism. We're going to identify with humans of the same species, before we fight over human beings of different nations. So for me, I was like that. No, the genius thing is the common denominator. The common denominator is what you see in the mirror. And you tell me, this is the revolutionary thing about this whole Mr. Within project I'm doing, is because I'm telling you, are you ready as a human being to wake up tomorrow and for a second feel every human being on this earth, as chaotic or ordered their decisions may be, is like your family? Not a family of, it's like, it's in regards to identification. We're identifying with the same value, the legacy of the species. A species so advanced, it in some sense acknowledged the past, present, and is now acknowledging the future, its future. Rise, mankind, rise beyond the ignorance of your times. For there will come a moment where you will become earthkind. It's just the emotional maturity. And I'm just telling you, if you wake up tomorrow, let me tell you I'm trying to give you a sense of the shift. It's like if your problems are the most important thing your attention goes to, there will come a day where the problems of your species will come into your attention, then the problems of your world. Then you will realize the game of the human being. It's a concept. The self is a concept, and the world is a context, and the self is becoming responsible for the world consciously. That is the epitome of consciousness, responsibility. Responsibility means is pretty much once you understand the value of something, you can be responsible for it. And what we see in regards to even human interaction, it's all just based on if they have the same values or not. There's so many different values. What one thing everybody values is the future, their future, the world's future. That means the cost of humanity's greatness in the future is the ability to trade in the archetype of a nationalistic human entity for the archetype of a species level being. And even the future, if you wanted to know, like way in the future when the next shift would be, it would be from speciesism to worldism. And from worldism, it probably goes to beyondism, which means the system admin. So pretty much you have various tasks in this world to complete as a human being. One of these tasks is to ensure the greatness of humanity. And you may not understand what those words mean, but it starts with a feeling. You know, if World War III happens, it's like a world ended before it could begin. Like, that's the issue with tragedy, with chaos, with human beings being treated like pawns, with on some level, like, do you know what I mean? Like, so many people, how do I say it? Like, if world leaders could compete in a sport and whichever lost, like, had to agree that they lost, right? I think every member of their nation would be like, all right, that's better than us going and killing each other, random people we don't know, because that's what war is really. You're killing random people, and you are a random person too. There, the whole thing about war is it's random. You see, guys, I think the whole thing about life is at some point you gotta pause it and reevaluate it. You have to recalculate your life, okay? Which means you gotta wonder about its like foundational conceptualization of value. And at some point, you're gonna realize you're a human being, and like many systems in reality, you have limitations. And the limitations are not something that's bad, it's what's allowing you to see how you can go beyond them. Do you know what I mean? Like a person, like failure is to know to kind of learn your limits. Do you know what I mean? And then in some sense, success is figuring out how to go beyond them, actually. And human beings need an ability to discriminate between their inner realm and outer realm. Like for me, some human beings maybe they don't understand how to use their minds. I'm not saying they don't understand or they don't have minds, but they don't know how to use their mind or what they identify with. For example, for me, when I realize in front of my eyes, I'm looking at life form, I'm looking at external form, and behind my eyes, in accordance to, I guess, the references of form I've had before, it has a value. It's like two people look at the same work of art, and one person is like thinks it's bad. One person thinks it's good. You know what I mean? One person likes it, one person dislikes it. What is that? That means meaning is being extracted. Your consciousness, like a light beam, hits the artwork and then hilariously, imagine, goes back to you. Do you know? And now you have, in some sense, you're seeing a form that your mind did not generate. Do you know what I mean? And so it is tasked with its familiarization. Now, the issue is what forms a being acts on. For me, I think a majority of like I think 99.9% of mental illnesses will, I guess not based on, I guess, conditioning, not based on the actual brain. That's a different matter. I'm talking about psychology, not psychiatry. And I'm saying that in regards to the psychology, these all mental illnesses are occurrences because the individual has stopped being honest at some point. It's dishonesty. It's a symptom. How can I say this? Like being deceived is a sign of dishonesty. That means if you're honest about it, you realize it's okay to revert to the simple rather than think one extreme is absolute. It's all about the nature of human mind, human perception, how in the same way we can look at an object from different angles, we can look at different subjects. You can look at yourself. You could one day, so many people see the issue is the identification with it. Do you know? Somebody in the chat section says, "Are you familiar with epigenetics?" I think epigenetics means what's influencing you from outside of you, right? But see, the issue is the decision. Like, I don't know if it's some people are mentally ill or they don't know how to decide. I don't know which one it is. Do you know? I don't know if it's insecurity or sometimes mental illness, but when I look at reality, I'm like, okay, where is the first value flag of value planted? Okay, I opened my eyes. I'm a biological being, so it's like the most important value to human beings is their biological existence, right? But then it becomes not just your biological existence because there's other minds in the world. There's 8 billion other human beings. And guys, don't worry about planet overpopulation. We'll build sky cities, multiplanetary projects, interstellar cities. We'll get there. So people can comfortably overpopulate, actually. But it's like, how do I say it? Like human beings, like imagine they were an army, like a part of this army is just I don't know, guys. I think something as just since my childhood, I've been fascinated by stuff that doesn't make sense to me. Things I actually wanted to understand, that I couldn't, or like, it's like I'll tell you, this is kind of maybe a sign of maturity that in the domain of knowledge, where at first you're fascinated by what you know. You're like, oh my God, I know something about this world, you know? But then you reach a point where you're like, what do I know? And is what I know enough? You see, guys, what I understood about life is that it's honestly a relationship of a verb with a noun. It's a verb noun relationship. Your mind is a verb, your body is, you treat it as a noun, but technically it's a very slower verb, you know? And what it is there's these simulations of reality they're like, yo man, are you in a simulation? And the other person on the phone's like, oh, you don't know, man, it's not just one simulation. I'm in a physical I'm in a physical existential, I'm in an atomic simulation. I'm in an elemental simulation, I'm in a chemical simulation, I'm in a biological simulation. He's like, I'm in an ideological simulation, man. Language is a simulation. You know, the past is a simulation. The future is a simulation, bro. It's like if I stop thinking, that's the only thing that's not simulated. It's like every day I wake up, it's in the morning. Oh my god, I go back to sleep, another simulation. You know, I've lived. It's like I've lived 12,000 days, 12,000 simulations. Too many simulations, man. Simulations coming from all directions, all angles, all dimensions. And at some point, the person's like, "All right, what are you gonna do about it?" And it's honestly very simple. What do you do in a world filled with simulations? It's like, all right, man, what's simulation 101? Simulation, you know, escapism 101. Yo, if I ever become a professor, you know, may God remind me at that time to create a class called Simulation. Simulation Studies 101, you know. They're like, all right, what are we doing in the first class? What's the first thing we got to learn? All right, you're inside a simulation, except you don't have all the answers. That's the first thing. If a person can accept that there's things they don't know, they can then find the comfort to be humble. They can find comfort in their humility. Okay, so first thing is, all right, we're limited. It's like, even though it's like okay, the next thing is, here guys, I'll just tell you what I'm seeing. See, when it comes to studying a simulation, which it has been what our lives have been, it's pretty much like there's this unknown event going on. In the middle of it, we've suddenly, appeared. There's form, geometry, there's space, there's change, there's time. Many of these are man positioned. Some of those are nature positioned. And so, what does a simulated being do in a simulated world? See, the thing is, though, there is an original awareness to this simulated being. There is something within the human being that is allowing it to see the simulation, to be aware that it's aware it's inside a simulation. Guys, I once had a very terrifying dream. Very terrifying dream, where the dream was like, I just appear in this like 10-second moment where I just, how do I say it? It's honestly too dark, actually. I shouldn't go there. I experienced like maybe 3 deaths in one memory. Sorry, not memory, in one dream. Do you know? It was very strange. It was like constantly respawning from the same point after exiting the vision. It was strange. But anyways, I'm trying to say that there is an original value here. That's the point. Okay, now for a Muslim, if you ask me, what is the soul? I'll tell you, the soul is the secret of the Creator. Man knows very little. And it is also the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the command of the system admin. The system admin has no equivalent or partner in the world. It cannot be simulated. As if the original awareness, that means I believe the soul is unknown. It cannot be known. The point of life is not to know your soul. You can understand its position, but there is no pulling the strings of the secret of the soul. Because you are tasked, you're being tested on your humanity. You see, right now as I'm giving this talk, there is an awareness that is acting like the whole space. My body's found in it. And if my eyes are open and you tell me visualize like a hovering blue apple, I can, right? And that, if my eyes are open, it's in front of me. If I'm closed, it's in a, I don't know, blank room. I don't know how to say it. We are aware. Like, it's not just about like how smart a person is. It's like, what is a being aware of and where it is. Like in this moment, imagine somebody says, no, not what do you know or what are you aware of? It's like, what are you aware of as a being right now? And what is your original value? And when you perceive reality, how do you perceive it? Do you acknowledge that there's a hierarchy of levels and classes to intelligence in this world? There's so many different types of creation. The garden of existence is vast. And it's even impossible to try to clone the whole garden as one flower. Do you know? And so in this garden of existence, we find ourselves as an awareness. It's like to be born a human is like, not only you're experiencing the world for the first time, but you're experiencing how you're happening in the world, how you're being here. Like, this is the first time I'm experiencing myself in this moment. You know? So, the emotional maturity, the whole point of this is that we start caring for the emotions of not other people from nations, but other members of our species. In the same way, people, like, there's going to come a day in the future where somebody's going to be like, I'm from this nation, and everybody's going to stare at them. It's like, what does that mean? We're one species. Everybody's from the earth. It doesn't even make sense. Nationalism was just an abstract requirement, I guess. An abstract requirement for the ignorance of the time. The meaning of reality is very fascinating, but one thing is clear, and history has proven, that human beings, if they want to unite, they unite over one narrative, and that one narrative includes values they all share. And because everybody wakes up and cares for tomorrow, in some sense, that is our greatest shared value. One is our human design and world position, and the other is in some sense, what can happen. Like, you don't know how the future might surprise you. And I think that human beings are too capable. Like, how many people, Like when I think about World War III and like extinction, I'm like, wait a minute, how many people do you know have started things that they're in the middle of? Do you know what I mean? That means it's like human lives are way more significant, than before, because we understand it better and we understand the capability of humanity. Like, the class systems of reality should be based on competence, not currency. The economy of mankind. For me, you don't understand. My mind has shown me that in an advanced civilization, if somebody was raised as simple and normal it is for you to feel like you're, a citizen of a nation, it would feel as normal to realize nationalism is was like the wagon and the Bugatti is the advanced civilized is like the advanced civilization conscious that in some sense, do you know what it becomes then? It's like mankind becomes the leading force for Earthkind. That way, even android AIs in the future that look exactly like humans can be citizens of Earth. But the citizens of humanity is different, of course, because we're an original biological consciousness. That means even in my sci-fi, you know, in my science fiction, guys, I wrote this scene in the galactic sector of the UN in the year 5025. This cow with a scarf around its neck, standing on its two legs, you know, gets up on this podium, and there's this hologram like thing from monitor for it to read from, and it starts giving a speech how humans have in some sense eaten cows for so long that they need to in some sense fix their mistakes. And the cow has AI, advanced AI consciousness, like AI technology connected to its brain, and it's giving a speech. The whole point of it was to kind of say that in the future, it's not just humanity will is becoming more alive. Many things will come. Even history, many human beings will arrive in history. It's very fascinating. It's like we're deployed out of a moment we don't remember into a moment where the world has become our first memory. It's fascinating to be here. It's fascinating how advanced it can be. And I think deep down, everybody's like, war? Like, who has the time for that? Do you know? Like, if we were a lazy, imagine right now if the war, in some sense, let's say the war escalates and it becomes an extinction scenario, everybody on earth would be like, man, they told us discipline, organized, we just needed lazy world leaders who were too lazy to press the nukes. You know what I mean? Sorry, guys, it's late at night and I'm being playful. Well, but what I'm trying to tell you though is the species is at a moment of its emotional maturity. All citizens of nation are looking at their nations like kids in a classroom, and two nations are holding grenades, and how will all the nations immediately like stop them? Or let's say two kids in the classroom have taken out knives and they want to fight, and immediately every kid in the classroom just grabs the hand, like there's like 20 hands grabbing like each kid's hand and unable to move, right? So what I'm trying to say is that if you can care for your future, you can care for the future of your species, and you will find that after you have lived the greatest life or found the most advanced self, you're going to see that there's a deep call within the nature of the most advanced self to find its most advanced world, excuse me, its most advanced species, and then its most advanced world. And eventually, the system admin, which is our relationship with the most advanced power. All creation performs in the presence of the Almighty. The complexity of how vast the values of reality are. We're reaching a time where genius can be shy no more, and nations need to, in some sense, smarten up in the hopes of Species Unity Day, United Species Day. All leaders of all nations come and pledge that they are now acknowledging that they're citizens of the nation of humanity, identifying truly as a species. The greatness, the kingdom of mankind was never based on nations, it was based on the species. There's an honor for your species that you haven't even, you're too far back in time to kind of realize, like, there's an honor this whole time we've been missing, in the same way the samurai had, the knights had, any great person has had. They have cared for the greatness of the possibility of greatness. Anyways, thank you for listening. I hope this talk was interesting. And may God guide creation. In a simulated world, the soul is like the original memory of being created, having an awareness of greatness is great in itself. I personally find it's like a bunch of simulated beings trying to find true values to uncover what they actually are. We are in search of greater values, actually. True value, actually the true value of reality. I guess the sort of smartest clarity. Anyways, thank you for listening. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful.